Welcome to another episode of Driving with Miranda. This week I am in the all-new 2025 Subaru Forester Premier. So that means this is the top trim level of the Foresters. That means it has all the amenities, all the bells and whistles. We're going to have a look at the exterior design, the interior bits and pieces, and really what makes a Subaru a Subaru. Let's get into it. Let's start with the base price of the Subaru Forester Premier. That's right, it is upwards of $47,000. Now, this isn't the only model available. Of course, there are base versions as well, and truthfully, at $10,000 cheaper, it would look and perform and be just as good. But since I have the Premier, let's stick with that. In terms of exterior upgrades, it's definitely less boxy, it's become much more refined, and the little black touches give it a luxury feel. I quite like the trend of the indented model lettering across the rear. Again, it adds this sense of classiness that, Subaru hasn't really had before. I mean, let's be honest, Subaru has never really been described as luxurious or fancy, but there's something about this Forester that has this air of sophistication, of creativity, of something that's been modeled after something artistic, which again, I would never say about a Subaru in the past, but I do quite like the look of this Forester Premier. Now, if we look at the engine inside the Subaru Forester, it hasn't seen a whole lot of changes over the years, and that's okay actually. Equipped with a 2.5-liter Subaru Boxer engine, this thing is good for 180 horsepower, which is more than enough for what it is. This is not the WRX, this is not the STI, this is not meant to track. It's meant to do a job, and it's meant to handle rough terrain and winters, and it does exactly that. Now, along with the 2.5-liter engine, you get Subaru's CVT, which is a continuous variable transmission. Now, I've absolutely hated these systems in the past, especially when they first came about. Essentially, it means you have one gear. They are often droney, they are very loud, and again, it just doesn't shift unless you take your foot off the throttle. However, from the beginning, Subaru has managed to have a very decent CVT that's not obnoxious. And in this Forester, you get paddle shifters. So if you do want to quote unquote shift your own gears, you can. Step around to the back, and even though this is a compact SUV, you're going to notice really quickly how much space this thing actually has. With the second row down, it boasts over 2,100 liters of space, which means you can haul all your stuff. This nifty Forester mat makes sure everything stays protected, and with an extra wide opening, you can fit all the things. Add in the electronic buttons to bring the seats down, but not up. You have to do that manually. Plus, a nice low entry in the back, and this thing is perfect for all your weekend adventures. Now, step inside the Subaru Forester Premier, and it is clear the bar has been raised. Again, Subaru has never been known for its luxurious, comfortable interiors. In fact, they've always been rather raw and plain, which is what drew my attention. And even though this one is definitely upper scale to what's been seen in the past, it's not overdone. It's still comfortable, it's still practical. Thank God there are still buttons. It's not all touchscreen. From the steering wheel mounted buttons to the few that are on either side of the touchscreen, Subaru has made the most important buttons available and easy to get to. Up front, you've got heated seats and cooled seats, and there are even heated seats in the second row, which is a great thing for passengers in the winter. So let's talk a little bit more about what the Subaru has in terms of an HMI, HMI being human machine interface. So that little fancy system that you use on the touchscreen in the middle. Now, first of all, I love the vertical touchscreen. I think it's a good change in the industry. We see so many that are just like an iPad kind of like stuck to the dash, and this one has a really nice aesthetic appeal to it. I love the black around the edges, and like I said, I absolutely love the fact that it has buttons. Thank you, Subaru. Thank you. You can adjust everything there from your heating to your CarPlay. Now, my one point of contention here is the CarPlay buttons are so small. When I'm driving and I want to get to Waze or Spotify or messages or whatever it is, I have to be so precise because the buttons are teeny tiny. Even though I have little fingers, they're very difficult to get to. Now, of course, I can use the voiceover in the car. I can ask it to open certain apps, but while I'm driving, I'd rather just press a button and be done with it. Now, you can also get to all of your off-road systems here, your X mode. You can see the weather. You can see what's playing on your CarPlay or Android Auto. Everything is available there on that screen. You also have USB ports up front and in the back. And again, all the steering wheel buttons, everything is available there for you. There's also a heated steering wheel, which is great. So why Subaru? Truthfully, these are some of the best all-wheel drive vehicles on the market today.
Having owned one in the past and driven countless over the years, I can attest to once you've driven a Subaru in the winter, you will never go back. True, they're rather plain, they're not the prettiest cars on the road, and their prices have gone up slightly. However, even in base model, you get so much in this vehicle. If you haven't looked at Subaru and you're in the market for a compact SUV or even a sedan or a hatchback, please look at Subaru, especially if you live in colder climates where all-wheel drive is needed in the winter.
Well, that's been it for me in the 2025 Subaru Forester Premier. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to leave one below. You can always follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Miss Miranda L or Miranda Lightstone. And of course, please like, subscribe, and check back next week for the next ride.